welcome to this week's edition of Erica Schmerica Reality Recaps. Go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe to my new YouTube channel, and that way you'll get notifications for when I post any new videos about all of your favorite garbage reality shows. First up this week were Jovi and Yara. That's right, it's the Yovi wedding of the century. For some reason, they just landed in LA, not Vegas, LA, and they decided they just, since they're so annoyed with each other, they may as well take a very long, arduous trek across the desert with Jovi's friends, who Yara already seems to be taking a shine to. So they all get in the car, they're driving, Yara's just staring out the window, 1,000-yard stare, and she's not feeling great, probably because she's pregnant, also because she's marrying Jovi. And they get in the car, they're headed towards Vegas and stop at Peggy Sue's Diner. A lifelong dream for any Pee-wee's Big Adventure fan. I would have been glad to stop there, sure, but Yara had to just have her jacket slung over her shoulders, no arms in the jacket ever, as she pouted around amongst the dinosaurs, unable to take any photo ops, and just seemed to have a miserable time. Jovi did do his little thing where he squirms around hey, how you doing? You're okay? And, kind of didn't work for her. So then they got back to Vegas to their hotel on the Strip, and it seemed that she just wanted him to stay in for the night, not go to the bar, not leave her and hang out with his friends. So she got her wish. It looked like for once he ixnayed all the hangouts and just stuck in with Yara. Can't wait to see them get married next week. If they don't get married by Elvis, I'm probably going to fast forward. I'm not kidding. Yeah, but she'll probably look pretty in her sparkly dress. Not much else to report on that one. Next on the list were Julia and Brandon. So Julia and Brandon were missing last week, but we can imagine what they were doing. Julia was probably just sitting on her bed like she has been the entire time. But this time looking like a pound puppy, but this time she was blowing bubbles. Definitely something you would do outside. Everybody knows bubbles always spill all over the place. I was a little nervous about that. But anyway, she just always looks bored and sad and like little orphan Annie in this house. So then they pan over to Betty and Ron, who are outside. Betty was giving Ron a fabulous haircut. They did say that she used to be a dog groomer, so I think it was like a Bichon Frise puppy cut that she was doing on Ron's white fluffy locks. Brandon was sitting there looking as unenthusiastic as ever, and actually Betty and Ron confronted him on that, saying that they weren't sure also where he stood as far as wanting to get married, since he always seemed to just be very blah about everything. Brandon said that he loves Julia and that he does want to make it work, and he is excited to get married. He just looks at this as signing the paper, and later on they're going to have their big female fantasy wedding. But later on, he and Julia were discussing some details. Betty came in. She offered to take Julia shopping. She also offered that Julia could wear her wedding dress, which was a very lovely high neck, puffy shoulders dynasty number of sorts, which Julia probably appreciated but swiftly denied. And then they decided that they were going to go out. They were going to get Julia everything she needed for their little farm wedding that they were going to have there. But again, she and Brandon got in a fight over his unenthusiasm. He was just kind of sitting there and giving her the smirks and the shrugs, and he kind of thought the whole thing was just a means to an end to finish her visa, and she didn't appreciate the fact that he wasn't treating it as something special. So they started out on a better note, and they kind of ended at a low point. So next week, we'll see if they actually end up going through with it or not. I have a feeling they do. And hopefully one of the German Shepherds can be their witness. Then we had Stephanie and Cousin Harris. So Stephanie and Cousin Harris were walking along the beach, having a great time. Stephanie wasn't wearing pants, not really sure where those went. And Harris spotted a really nice kind of slanty palm tree. So he decided to scale this palm tree, Gilligan style, and pick Stephanie her own coconut. Because that's just how they do it there. That's what you do to impress a lady. So they went over to the pier to sit down and erotically drink this coconut milk water, whatever's inside of a coconut, and it was like dripping all over them. I mean, I didn't really think that was for daytime television. Good thing the show was on at night. Anyway, so as they're having this killer time, Stephanie has to look right at the camera and say, you know, that their glow in the dark sexy time is phenomenal. You hear that, Ryan? It's phenomenal. It was phenomenal with Cousin Harris. And that was just a little TMI, but that's okay. That's what she likes to do. Then she kills the mood entirely by bringing up Cousin Harris's baby mama and pulling up on her phone a Facebook photo from 3 weeks previous to show him, like, look, you're looking a little too chummy with your baby mama only but 3 weeks ago. So Harris, who's a real go-getter and he's got his eyes on the prize, he talks it away by saying, we were just friends and this is, we were just being friendly on my birthday and she was showing me or whatever. Like Stephanie wasn't engaged 5 minutes ago, or not even engaged, to cousin Ryan. Very confusing with all of the cousins. Hopefully they don't have any more cousins. Or maybe for Stephanie, hopefully they do have more cousins. I don't know. Depends on which way you want to look at it. She may be collecting coconuts. We don't know. So anyway, she seems to accept Harris's excuse for his chummy photo with his baby mama. And they move on to discussing his new potential life in Michigan, which seems like the landscape might be a little different than what he's used to. I don't think they have any palm trees or coconuts in Michigan. So he's going to have to give up on that skill set. But he did promise to be her landscaper, and if her cat ever gets stuck in a tree, at least we know he can go get it. So then it was time for Cousin Harris to leave, which was a sad moment because it seems like they've been having such a great time together. So he gathers all his belongings in a garbage bag, which included all of the leftovers that Cousin Ryan didn't get because he didn't see this thing out till the end. So all the Adidas lines, he got all the underoos, he got all the bandanas and his do-rags, everything. And also for snackies for his tum-tum, Stephanie gave him a crisp $100 bill. Of course, she had to take the $100 bill out of her $100 bill themed encrusted in rhinestone purse because she loves a novelty bag. So she took that out, gave it to him. He had never seen that much money. He thought it was fake, questioned if it was fake. And then he told the camera aside that this is like 2 weeks worth of work for him, and he only had to work for that for 2 days. So way to go, Harris. Little clam claps for you. You did a great job. He probably hightailed it out of there on his bus, train, plane, donkey, trunk of the car, however it was that he got there, back to the baby mama. And he said he was going to spend his $100 on his kids. Father of the year. Hope next trip she gets him a mug that says, world's best dad. Next up were Rebecca and Pipa Zied. So Rebecca and Pipa, they were driving towards their wedding venue, but Rebecca went through the little checklist to see if they had everything ready for their super rushed wedding, because now they have to get married pre-Ramadan or Pipa Zied has to hightail it out of there. So she asked Zied about his outfit, and he said he picked out a red jacket with blue shoes, which is very Zied of him. He's been wearing a lot of red pants lately. Maybe he broke up the set, mix and match. Blue shoes, red jacket, what could go wrong? White top, then it's patriotic. Maybe he should do, yellow pants, then it's just primary colors. Anyway, so Rebecca just said, me no accept this, and she had to take him to Target. Now, I was very excited personally because Target is my home away from home. So it was really exciting to see them in my other living room in Target. As they shopped for a potential new outfit for Zied for the wedding. So Rebecca went over to the fitting room and asked a nice Target employee if she could use the fitting room. They said that they were closed, presumably for COVID, although no one was wearing masks and it didn't look like they were taking any other precautions. Nonetheless, Rebecca is quite the fashionista, not really to be trusted since that pigtail incident, nonetheless. So anyway, they get their last things, they gather their stuff, and they head out to the woods to that cabin for their wedding venue. They had this like cage in the backseat of the car. I didn't really see an animal, but I didn't know, maybe it was a family tradition, something to do with the cage. Not really sure. I didn't ask a lot of questions. but they drove, could have been a part of the shopping cart, a unity cart. I don't know if that's a new tradition people are doing at weddings or they just do at their wedding. So they headed back to the cabin that we had seen a couple weeks ago, and Melody was there because she was one of the very few people attending the Pipa and Mima wedding. So they she dropped Ziad off the cabin. She went to talk to Melanie, and who was very rude to her a few episodes ago, and it sounded like she was over Melody and they weren't going to be friends anymore. However, she did seem to trust her opinion, and she seemed like she kind of was getting cold feet because there were a lot of things that she had reservations about for the wedding, including the fact that her dress didn't fit and she had a corset at the back because she couldn't zip it up. So now the only question is, next week when they do get married, who is going to be spilling out of their clothes more, Rebecca or Pipa Ziad? It's any man's guess. Then we had Andrew and Amira. So Andrew and Amira, much like every week, it just goes on and on and on. And why? Just why? Anyway, she was supposed to get on the plane, but again, they had another fight on the phone, where she got annoyed with Andrew, and then he was like texting her one text after the other, pressuring her, saying that they had a lot of problems in their relationship, probably true, and that she could either get on the plane and come to the US or go back to France. Two choices. Up to her. He doesn't care what happens. So for some reason, she decides she's going to go to the US because she just would love to experience this in person instead of just on the phone and like hanging up. So she heads to the airport and she heads to get on the plane to America. And all of a sudden, light bulb moment, after all these angry texts, she decides this is a bad idea. I cannot do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Andrew is so mad at me. I cannot go. So she turns around and decides to go to France. Andrew pretended via text that he was not so mad about it. He's like, whatever, I just need my rings back. So then she was crying again. End scene. Can we be done? Can we just be done? This week, back in Squim, Natalushka and Big Mike have the showdown of the century. So they had the fight last week. We knew that they were breaking up on wedding night eve. Big Mike decides he just can't do it, just not the girl for him. So he breaks it off. So Natalie decides she can't stand the sight of him. She needs to get out of there. She can't look at him. So she has neighbor Tamara that's going to drive her to Seattle to stay at a hotel for the night before she leaves to go back to, not Kiev, because I think the borders were closed. So she was going to France, presumably to sit with Amira and they could cry together and compare rings and who's going to send which one back. Anyway, so Natalie's getting in the car. It looked like she's collecting her things. She looks like she's scrounging through Mike's car. She checks his cup holder for any loose change, grabs his Easy Pass, gets in the car with Tamara. Uncle Bo, the gentleman that he is, he helped put her bags into Tamara's car. And then she has a very tearful goodbye with Uncle Bo where, he's like, oh, thanks, keep in touch, have a nice life, thanks for coming. And she's like, I'm sorry, Uncle Bo, but I will not keep in touch. Thank you. Thank you very much, Uncle Bo. I just cannot. So he didn't really seem too bothered by that. I mean, truthfully, he was probably more excited about being able to put his like sexy motorcycle ladies posters back up in his bedroom, rightfully in the house where he belongs. So Natalie, gets in the car with Tamara, ready to go, and Big Mike comes out. He's like looming in the doorway, and he comes out all like slunking around, and he looks kind of upset, and he asks Natalie for a hug, and she loses it. She's like, no hug, no, Michael, I will not hug you, no, no way, I cannot do this. And, rightfully so. It's kind of crappy what he did to her. Probably should have done this, day 2 when he already decided he couldn't stand her. So she and Tamara take off because Mike had used his credit card to secure a hotel room for Natalie. And as they're heading there, they realize they didn't have the credit card, had to turn around and go back and see Mike once again. So Mike comes up to the car and has the nerve to lean in and ask Natalie for the ring back. Apparently it was a family heirloom. Neither here nor there. I mean, she just got the ring back. That was like the first 6 episode storyline. And now she's supposed to give it back. And she's like, no, I will not do that. No. So she doesn't want to give up the ring. Amira's mailing it back. There's rings going everywhere. I don't know. I think Uncle Bo should keep the ring. That's just my opinion. Um, and it looks like next week they do head to the hotel, and then she has to go back again because apparently you can't get a hotel room without a credit card. Who didn't know that except for everyone? Um, and the owner of the credit card has to be present. So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Tamara's going to spot her any money or let her curl up on her couch anytime soon. So, I guess we'll just have to tune in next week to see what happens with poor Natalie. So, I know everybody either fast forwarded or was sleeping during this part, but I am going to recap Team Tarzal. So, Team Tarzal, their wedding is approaching, and we saw that Hazel bought a dress for Tariq's daughter, Ari, who was so cute, and she tried it on, and I mean, Tariq might have a shirt of Thailand and a sword collection, but he does seem like a good dad. I'll give him that. So Hazel was getting ready for the wedding. She was all excited, but she had to do one thing that most people have to do before their wedding, and that is to call their parents to let them know that they're bisexual. Not sure why this was like the time and place. However, she called her parents in the Philippines, who are super religious, so she kind of knew how this was probably going to go down. But she went ahead and told them that she was bisexual, as she likes to say. And her dad seemed fairly accepting, while her mom was just in disbelief and said that she would pray for her. I mean, that was probably as well as that was going to go. So after she got that off of her chest, she was feeling really relieved, and it was time for her bachelorette party. So her bachelorette party consisted of one Filipino friend that she had met on the internet but never in person, awkward, and then two of Tariq's friends. So all four ladies were in some kind of, I don't know if it was a hotel room or maybe an Airbnb, and Tariq arranged a little surprise for them, and it was in the way of a female dancer. I don't think she was really a stripper because I didn't see anything removed, but she was a dancer, a private dancer, a dancer for money. So she came in, and she was a very curvaceous dancer, if you will, who was also COVID compliant. She wore a face mask the entire time, and it appeared that she had 6 feet between her and everyone else. So little clam claps for that dancer because she's following the rules. And she was doing all kind of gyrations, did incredible things, moving and shaking. And Hazel came to life for the first time. It was the happiest I think I've ever seen her on the entire show. And she thought Tariq did a good job because he picked out a girl that was exactly what she's been looking for. And who knows, maybe she slipped the dancer her number, or their collective Team Tarzal number. Anyway, next week I believe should be their wedding. A lot of weddings next week. I'm going to have to go out and buy toasters for everyone. Anyway, that was all that happened with Team Tarzal. It's probably the most that's happened with Team Tarzal, honestly. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's recap of 90 Day Fiance Season 8, Episode 15. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. And next week we'll see you back with Episode 16, All of the Weddings. Bye, guys.